So this is the overview of what I'm going to talk today, right? So what is Scopus? Introduction to CiteScore. What is changing in year 2019 for CiteScore and the reason behind why are we changing it? And golden rules responsible of use of metrics. I will also show you on the journal metric in Scopus and also to show you where to look for metrics in Elsevier journals, right? And should you have any questions later, you can feel free to type in your question in the Q&A chat box, right? And I will look into it after the session later and I'll answer it accordingly. So when I talk about CiteScore, right, it cannot be separated from Scopus because somehow Scopus is the backbone for the CiteScore creation. And I think it will be very important for me to tell you what is Scopus first, right? So again, for those who are not still familiar with Scopus, right, Scopus is a source neutral abstract and indexing database and also the citation database curated by the independent subject matter expert, right? And Scopus contains publication from over 5,000 publishers, and these publications are judged by the CSAB, meaning to say in Scopus we have a board called Independent Scopus Content Selection and Advisory Board. It's the international group of scientists, researchers, and librarians who represent the major scientific disciplines. So for us, Scopus work with multiple local boards with goal to further advance the overall standards and quality of journal published in non-English speaking country. So currently the local board are in place for China, Thailand, Russia, and South Korea. So for those who are also not aware of what Scopus can help you, right? And I hope this slide can provide you a better insight. For Scopus, it can provide you media and information literacy, identify area of interest, staying current fields of study, finding relevant content, meaning to say you can also find papers, find review papers, articles, content proceedings, book chapters in Scopus. And then you can also identify the citation and credibility of the sources. Because nowadays, I believe that all the researcher is very well aware of the predatory publishing. And all of us quite worrying of if we accidentally submitted our manuscript to the predatory journals. So perhaps going through this webinar and as well as this knowledge to be provided by today, it can help you to build up some of the foundational knowledge before deciding where next you need to submit your manuscript. So again, Scopus is one of the tools for you to identify the citation as well as the credibility of the sources. So beside that, it will help you to complete the assignment for a course as well as staying informed about the advances. So now let me introduce you what is CiteScore, right? CiteScore was introduced as a new journal metric in December 2016. It wasn't too long ago. The history of CiteScore probably is latest compared to journal impact factors. So it's considered one of the new metrics which I think everyone should know. It is a transparent alternative to the journal impact factor. So CiteScore metrics are the new standard that help to measure the journal citation impact. CiteScore is calculated based on the active publication in Scopus, currently over 25,300 serial titles. So these kind of serial titles are including journals, book series, conference proceeding, and more importantly, in the transparent side, you can verify the calculation. So again, I would like to emphasize for Scopus from Elsevier, right? We don't just index the journal. We do index book series as well as conference proceeding as well as the ebook. So CiteScore is the article-based metric aggregated to the journal level. Only link citation means all the titles, be it journal, book series, ebook chapters, or conference proceeding that were being indexed in Scopus will receive CiteScore calculation. Right. So Only the link citation to publication in Scopus are counted, and unlike the journal impact factor, that includes unlinked citation as well. So CiteScore is based on the principle of 3Cs. And what are the 3C means? So 3Cs are based on comprehensive, current, and clear. So the comprehensiveness is based on Scopus, and you know Scopus actually index quite numbers of the titles of the journals, of the book chapters, as well as the conference proceedings. So it's very comprehensive. Current, what is meant, including a monthly CiteScore tracker update, which I will show you later what is CiteScore tracker, and also available for the new serials. Clear in a way of the transparency of its numerator and denominators. Okay, so again, also I will show you in depth later how the calculation of CiteScore in comparison to journal impact factor. And all the CiteScore listings are available for free in Scopus, but this one doesn't need to worry because the UMT user can freely accessible to the Scopus that's subscribed by the ministry in Malaysia. So there are more than 13,000 of the titles with CiteScore in 2019 and no journal impact factor. Okay. There are more than 330 plus of these titles are very high rank in their subject area. What we say high rank is about the top 10% within the subject area, meaning to say there are some, let's say, imagine medical sciences, medicine, right? There are more than 330 plus of these titles are very high rank, which is the top 10% within medicine. Okay, so this is why that my intention here to bring to you, to tell you that we have to use the metric responsibly, and we don't just follow by just one metric, and it is important to counter check to double confirm as a reference with another second metric as well, so it can serve you as the second opinion before you submit your manuscript next. So in CiteScore metrics, right, we have 8 features, or we have 8 sub-metrics. So for the main one required CiteScore is the annual static value per cut of early May, and CiteScore 2019 in May 2020, and it released in June, meaning to say for CiteScore of 2020, right, it will cut off in May, and we will release the CiteScore 2020 in the coming month of June 2021. So approximately about 2 to 3 months from now, right? So for this one, the releasing month is about the same with journal impact factor. The second one is the CiteScore tracker. So this tracker, right, is I would say a monthly value building up to annual value as of June. Let's say every month you can see the fluctuations of the CiteScore value of each journal based on their performance of every month. So you can more or less, right, before the release of the static CiteScore value, you can track it every month to see the performance of that particular journals on a monthly basis. And apart from that, we have a CiteScore percentile as well. This percentile is based on all science journal categories. So example, you have top 1%, top 5%, top 10%, okay? This is used for benchmarking. And the fourth one, we have CiteScore quartiles. Quartiles in the all science journal category means to say you have same goes to like first quartile, second, third, fourth quartile, or so-called Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, right? I know you have the same in journal impact factor as well, but again, we do have the same quartiles based on the CiteScore calculation in Scopus. So CiteScore rank, we also have this ranking number to rank out the number of serials in the all science journal category. And we have the citation count. So this citation count is the count of citation in numerator of CiteScore. And we have documents count of documents in denominators of CiteScore. Right? So citation count is how much citation being received by that particular journals for the period of past 5 years. Right? You probably will understand better when I show you the calculation formula later. Okay, and the percentage cited is the percentage of article in serial that was cited for more than 1 times, then we will capture this percentage. So CiteScore value are available for 2019 back to 2011, right? And we will show you the CiteScore trend based on the historical data with the rank, visualized with the trend overviews. And these citation and documents can be exported as the CSV format, which is Excel compatible format. This will be important for those who have some manuscript on hand and they wanted to shortlist some of the journal titles for their manuscript submission, and they can use this to check the past CiteScore values, the performance in the historical trend of that particular journals. Okay, and free widget or Scopus API for displaying CiteScore metric, and also on Scopus further filtering option for open access, document types, year of publication, authors, DOI, and ASJC, etc. So I know as I introduced to you, our CiteScore introduced in the December 2019. And after all, we have the new formula after the first introductions, okay? These changes is introduced to adjust the methodology to include typically peer-reviewed publication. So what I so-called peer-reviewed publication are articles, reviews, conference proceeding, book chapters appearing in book series, and data papers. And after we change the formula, right, we have a longer citation windows. So we change it to 4 years instead of 1 year. So for those who are actually using, for those who are actually doing research, right, you should know that it takes many years, at least more than 1 year, to collect the citations. Because in order for me to cite your papers, right, from beginning of the writing, it takes me several months, right, to develop pieces or develop the manuscript. Then after that, it go through a rounds of the peer review process, as well as the correction process. So it probably will take 6 months to 1 year for your manuscript to be accepted and eventually published. And it also takes time for other people to see your paper, to track your papers, to cite your study, right? Then eventually they publish. So all this citation tracking, it takes years. So that's why we prolong the longer the citation windows to 4 years instead of 1 year. So including publication in the most recent years, publication window 4 instead of 3 years, giving a symmetrical approach, meaning to say we will include all the publication from that journal from the 4 years divided by the citation period of 4 years. So that display only one decimal value, it will help to reduce the false precision. So let me show you the formula now, right? This is the old CiteScore methodology. So when it was first introduced, right, we only make use of the publication from 4 years and also the citation for just 1 year. So after all, we got the feedback from all the research leaders, from the librarians, and we found out that there is some improvement needed. And that's how we introduced the enhanced CiteScore methodology. So CiteScore is how the calculation taken. So you can see, we will take the 4 years of the citation count divided by the 4 years of the number of publication, right? So it's symmetrical, 4 divided by 4. Instead of the previous one, 1 divided by 4. And you probably will want to find out from me, or you probably wanted to know what is CiteScore versus journal impact factors. Okay, so for CiteScore in Scopus, right, as I told you, we take the documents and also the citation for the 4 years basis. Whereas for impact factors, they are only taking the citable document from 2 years and the citation received in that particular year. Let's say impact factor for 2019, right? They take the citable document from 2017 to 2018. Then they use the citation count for just 1 year of 2019, right? So these are the major differences of CiteScore compared to impact factor. Okay, but both are the same for us to evaluate the performance of the journals, but the accuracies, the inclusions, the methodology of the formula are somehow different. Okay. So what are the improvements that you can see after these changes? So it will be somehow provide you a fairer comparison between journals because it's focusing on typically peer-reviewed publication only, and we exclude the influence of non-peer-reviewed article types, and it's easier exclusion of gaming of metrics. Okay. So second one are the robust, stable assessment of journal. So within the journal impact, citation impact, older article get their fuller citation impact. Let's say I published an article 3 years ago. So my CiteScore for that particular years, my citation for 3 years back when I first published was low. But after 3 years, the citation count for my paper that published 3 years ago eventually get noticed and being well cited. So that is how it helped the journal citation impact older article get the fuller citation impact, right? As what I mentioned to you, it takes a longer time for people to notice your paper first, and it also take a longer time for people to cite your paper, and it take a longer time for them to cite already, and eventually for the databases company like us to track the cited data. Okay, so it's more robust assessment of citation to publication after their publications, and we provide a longer citation window as what I showed you just now. And we have the early citation impact indication for journal, especially open access. So new journal received the first indication of their citation impact 1 year earlier compared to the old CiteScore methodology. So more journal can be compared globally, can provide you a bigger view of the index journals. And it will help the new journal to demonstrate the citation impact of their publication sooner because we have the CiteScore tracker. So this is the CiteScore view when you get into the Scopus. Okay, these are the views looks like. So to be more focused, I will show you this slide instead. Right, you can see the CiteScore of 2019, right? Because CiteScore 2020 has yet to be released a few more months from now. So that's why I take CiteScore in 2019 as a showing example. So let's say example these journals, right? It's called Fish and Fisheries. Okay, the CiteScore is 12.4. So from the year 2016 to 2019, there were 3,536 citations being received by these journals. And from the year of 2016 to 2019, symmetrically, there were 285 manuscripts being published. So based on the citation count and the document count, we came up with 12.4. So as what I mentioned to you, you can see the ranking and you can see the percentile. Okay. And for CiteScore trackers, right, for 2020, you can see right now at where they stand. So they are standing at 10 because we managed to capture 2,535 citations to date, and we managed to capture 255 documents being published by this journal to date. So up to date, their CiteScore is 10. Who knows, next month it may change, and who knows, in the month of May, they may again fluctuate up or down. So it's depending on the citation received as well as the document being published by that journals. So for those who have the journal that they usually familiarize of, they usually want to aim that journal. Again, they wanted to see, they wanted to predict also whether the journal CiteScore will be increasing this year or be decreasing this year. I think CiteScore tracker can somehow provide you some of the picture and some of the hints whether the CiteScore value of that particular journal is in the increasing trend or in the decreasing trend. Okay. So this is again showing you CiteScore can provide the rank as also the percentile of the journals, right? You can see rank number 1, rank number 2, number 3, and you can look at the CiteScore that being listed in the list, okay? So this is the category overview, right? You can see the same when you have logged into Scopus to check what are the journals. So what are the CiteScore benefits? Because as what I mentioned to you, based on 3 Cs, right? Based on Scopus, the world broadest abstract and indexing database. So it's available for all serial titles, not just journal alone, right? Because I know journal impact factor, they are just based on journal alone. But for us, we also count journals be it review or research articles. We also count on book chapters and book serials, and we also count on the index conference proceedings. And CiteScore metric could be also calculated for the portfolio. Okay, and more importantly, CiteScore metric are available for free. And CiteScore are transparent, easy to calculate for yourself, because as what I show you here, right? Given the citation count, given the document, you can just key in and you get the straightforward number 12.4, as simple as that. And to date, you get the citation count of 2,535 divided by the 253 document being published, and you get 10, right? So as simple as that, you can do it by yourself, and the underlying database is available for you to interrogate. So the CiteScore tracker is updated every month on a monthly basis, so you can check the fluctuations of the CiteScore metrics of the journals. And the new title will also have CiteScore metric a year after they being published. So helping researchers to identify where to submit a paper also important. So I can give you some of the examples, right? Because nowadays we wanted to avoid the predatory publishing. We wanted to avoid the predatory journals, right? So for the publishers, you can use the tools that recommends by the publisher platform. So given the suggestions with the metrics. So for journal finders from Elsevier, you can try, right? You can key in HTTPS journalfinders.elsevier.com, which I myself also use it when I was writing my papers, right? You just put in your titles, you just put in your abstract, put in your keyword, put in your field, and then you click, right? It will show you some of the recommended journal titles for your next submissions. It will show you the percentage of the matching. It will show you the CiteScore. It will show you whether is it open access or subscriptions, right? You can plan ahead with your supervisors, right? With your research team, or whether should we go open access or should we not going open access due to the lacking of research fund. And we also see the turnaround time until you receive the first edition, because that will also help you to strategize, right? How fast my paper will be reviewed. So the average data will be available in the journal finder of Elsevier. And moreover, right, it will also show you the CiteScore, very important, right? It's indicating the performance of the journals. So for others, the publisher like Springer Nature, they also have journal suggester. From Wiley, they have journal finder as well. And also the Taylor and Francis for the author services. So please make use of these two to identify where you should next submit your manuscript, because it will provide you the impact, the speed, the reach, the reputation, the aim and scope. This will help you a lot instead of you are looking at the journal title in a random way, right? Of course, another way, if you don't feel like using these tools, you can always suggest the peers and colleagues for advice, because many of them exposed to many other different journals, who knows, can provide you a better insight and better info on where to go next, and especially not excluding your supervisors, right? Because all these your seniors, all these research leaders, all these principal investigators, they've been submitted the paper for numbers of years, and sometimes this will also serve as one of the advice where you should submit your paper next. Of course, the tools also will serve as another second opinion or the reference for you to check. You know, as you know, sometimes you or your supervisor will have the KPI of graduate on time, GOT. So it's very important for you to strategize, right? To check and also to find out the fast acceptance journals. At least the peer review process listed there, let's say the peer review process until the first decision received is 2 months. So you can strategize, oh, not too bad. So within 2 months, I shall receive my first revision. So with all this data, with all this insight, it will help you to strategize better for your submission. So for comparison of CiteScore tracker, and impact factors, because I know impact factor is somehow more popular among the researchers in Malaysia, because this has been long been using by the researchers. But let's see if we can do a comparison of CiteScore. CiteScore tracker and impact factor. But you can actually categorize CiteScore and CiteScore tracker in the same group because CiteScore is a static value after we conclude for the whole entire year, then we release. For CiteScore tracker, it fluctuates upside down because of the performance of every month by that particular journals are actually different, right? The number of the document being published could run, could have the increment trend, could have the decreasing trend, as well as the citation counts. It will also go up and or go down, depending. So for all these trees, right, the things that they can provide to you are metric measures citation per document. They can provide you simple methods, and they can provide you the annual snapshot for reporting purposes like the static value that I showed you just now. Be it journal impact factor or be it CiteScore, we usually release May of, we cut off by May and we'll release by June of every year, okay? So example, the CiteScore of 2020 to be released by June of 2021, which is 2-3 months ahead from now. So for CiteScore and CiteScore tracker, right, it will provide you the document type consistency because we can publish to you in Scopus to show you the clear number of numerator and the denominator. So it's very transparent, it's very clear. And we have the fair compromise of all field with using the 4-year citation windows, which impact factor doesn't use 4-year citation windows. And the derivative metric addresses the disciplinary differences. So for CiteScore tracker, right, it will have the ongoing inclusion of error correction. Let's say the past year issue, they have a paper retraction, paper withdrawal, right? So all this will be taken in counts and they will have the on-site ongoing error correction for CiteScore tracker because it fluctuates and it's not static yet. So CiteScore and CiteScore tracker available for all serials. So meaning to say, as I mentioned to you just now, we calculated journals, book chapters, book series, conference proceeding, but impact factors only take counts of the journal article alone. And new title have the metrics next year calendar years and tracking view for verification and decision making. As what I told you earlier, CiteScore trackers update every month on a monthly basis. So you can check, wow, this year is increased a lot. This month increased a lot. So for the past few months, right, it also increased, but not so much, or it's also decreased, but quite significant drop. So you can make your decision and you can strategize whether worth or not for you to submit these journals, submit your manuscript to these journals. So metric is current, updated monthly, is only available for CiteScore. So it's calculated from the same database you use. Yes, we only calculate from Scopus database. And metric and derivative matrix are free. So sometimes, you know, for those who have not subscribed to Scopus or you are outside of the campus, you did not log into the Easy Proxies to use the database, then probably you can still check the data for free. And you can use a free widget on the webpage, the Scopus API. And journal level evaluation functionality is free. And for CiteScore is the underlying database available for verify the calculation. So the number of document published, the number of citation count received, well published, and is very transparent, is openly available in the Scopus database. So these are all about the differences and also the features that provided to you by CiteScore trackers. Okay, in comparison with the impact factor. So I hope now you're a bit clearer when it comes to the comparison of CiteScore and impact factor. And these things, which I think also important for me to deliver in this webinar, which is using the metric responsibly. Because when you use correctly, the research metric together with the qualitative input will give you a balanced, multi-dimensional view for decision making. Because I believe that whenever we do everything, even though we do research, we used to have qualitative and quantitative data to support each other because we wanted to have more accuracy of the data to support on our finding. So same come to here we need to use the metric responsibly, we need to use the correct metric, and we need to use other metric as well to do the co-support of our decision. So always use both qualitative and quantitative input into your decision, and always use more than one research metric as the quantitative output, right? Example, right? I will give you an example. Let's say certain journal title is questionable and has no longer accepted in Scopus and has no longer received CiteScore in Scopus, but it is still having journal impact factors. Because recently I encountered two journals in biomedical sciences. It's a very low impact factors journal. It's still receiving journal impact factor, but has been already terminated and stopped by Scopus. So when you see this, it still have impact factors and no longer having CiteScore. So it's actually worth for you to think next, whether should you submit your paper to this, whether you should risk yourself to submit your paper to this or not. So always use two metrics as the quantitative output. So example, compared to another journal that well received CiteScore as well as journal impact factors. Then now you also can see, wow, it's a bit more safer, right, for me to submit my manuscript to this kind of journal. Or eventually some cases might happen, right? It received a very high CiteScore, right? It is a top ranked journal in that particular field, but it is not being indexed in journal impact factor, not being indexed in Clarivate, not being indexed in WOS. So again, it worth for you to think, wow, it's a high ranked journal, maybe top 5% or top 3% or even top 1% of it, ranked top 1% within the field of medicine. So that also worth for you to consider and worth for you to make decision. Should I go for these journals, right? That's why I always emphasize the users always use both qualitative and quantitative, and always use more than one research metric, because we are all researchers, right? It's in our bone and it's in our mind, as in our brain, that we need to use more than one data to support our decision and support our findings. So same goes to using the research metrics. This is the way forward. So example, right? Example, the importance of using multiple metrics, taking the complementary views. So for those who've been explored to Scopus a lot, to explore to CiteScore a lot, they should know what is field-weighted citation impact. Right? Field-weighted citation impact is compensate for the differences in the field, type, and the age. So meaningful benchmark is built in as like 1 is the average for a subject area, meaning to say below 1 is underperformed, above 1 you are well performed, right? You are above the well performance. So people may not like the small numbers, complicated, difficult to validate, and no idea of the magnitude. How many citations does it represent, right? So in comparison with the citation per publication, so it's 27.8. So it's a large number, simple, easy to validate, communicate magnitude of activity. But again, it has its drawback as well. It affected by differences in the field, type, and age, and meaningless without additional benchmarking. So beside the CiteScore impact factor, these are the two research metrics that worth for you to think further as well. So field-weighted citation impact as well as citation per publication. But due to the time constraint, I don't think I have time to explain further how this FWCI and the calculation formula. But I can tell you that the basal range of this WCI is 1. Anything below 1 will be somehow needed improvement. Anything above 1 is well performed. So this goes to, can be individual, can be journals, okay, and can be measuring the research output of the university based on certain research field, okay. So this is where, right, you can look for the metrics in Elsevier journal and in Scopus. So let's say you wanted to publish in biomedicine and pharmacotherapy, okay. You can just go to the scopus.com and you go to the sources and you key in the title of the journal, biomedicine and pharmacotherapy, and you can see It is the coverage under Scopus since 1982. The publisher is Elsevier, and you can see the ISSN number, right? And more importantly, you can see the CiteScore. So how the CiteScore came from, you can see is 6.4, right? So it came from 35,709 citation captured for the past 4 years, and also 5,577 manuscript being published in the past 4 years. And thus, the CiteScore for 2019 is 6.4. Where else you wanted to predict, who knows, right? I wanted to predict the upcoming performance of these journals. So you can look at the CiteScore tracker of 2020. So last updated was January, right? It's 9.1. So you can see, wow, this month is 9.1. It's higher than the static CiteScore of 2019. So who knows, in the CiteScore of 2020 later, it will be somehow higher than 6.4. So you can see, wow, 56,112 citations has been captured. It's higher than the previous 4 years, right? And also 6,000 of documents up to date being published. So based on this, you can predict the growth, and you can predict the performance, and you can predict the upcoming performance of these journals before you deciding whether you want to submit next. So you can see CiteScore, SJR, SNPs are all well illustrated in Scopus. But if you say, I wanted to look for the journal metric in Elsevier journal webpage, can or not? Can. You just can go to elsevier.com, you look for these journals, you can read the aim and scope, okay? Then you can also look for the journal metrics. It shows you the journal metrics. CiteScore 2019 is 6.4, okay? If you wanted to look for journal impact factor, also available for you to see there, the 5-year impact factor, the SNPs, the SJR numbers. So you can either get this metric in Elsevier journal webpage or in Scopus itself. So it's up to you based on your own convenience, right? So the CiteScore tracker in Scopus, as what I mentioned to you previously, calculated the same way as CiteScore, but for the current year rather than previous complete year. So it's fluctuate, updated every month. So the numerators of the current year metric build up every month as an additional citation being received. So that the construction is consistent with the construction of the complete year for the CiteScore. So when we are reaching June 2021, right, the new annual CiteScore value will be fixed, and then it will be displayed, and we will start to calculate the following years of CiteScore again. So if you can wait, you can just wait until June 2021. Then you can get the static CiteScore value of all the journal being indexed in Scopus in scopus.com. Okay. So for those you may want to find out, right, what is the CiteScore being used. So I'm not sure whether have you heard of this or have you seen these papers that being published by PLOS Biology. I think, if not mistaken, is published end of last year. Okay, it actually uses CiteScore, right, to identify the top performance scientists in the country based on the subjects. Okay, and in Malaysia, it was also having some of the top performance scientists in the list. So this CiteScore being studied by the researcher from Stanford University of US to determine the top 2% of scientists of all fields, right? And this finding was published as a formal comment in the year of 2020 by PLOS Biology. And this serves as a part of the important citation indicator to evaluate the impact and achievement of the researcher in the world, right? So if you wish to see, and if you wish to read these papers, and if you wish to get the list of the top performance scientists being evaluated based on the CiteScore from Scopus, you are feel free to check this paper out, and they have the attachment of the list of each country top performance scientists based on the calculation of the CiteScore. Okay. So after these sessions, right, the key takeaways should be as below. So I expect you to have learned all this after my session, including the CiteScore methodology. It changed, right, from 4 years instead of 1 year, longer citation windows. adjusted to include typically only the peer-reviewed publications, okay, including publications in the most recent year publication window of 4 years instead of 3 years. So we wanted to give you a symmetrical approach of the calculation of CiteScore formula. So display only one decimal value to reduce the false precision. CiteScore metrics are still comprehensive, current, clear, and free, and come with the additional options. And of course, very importantly, that I hope all of you, right, can use the relevant metric on a case-by-case basis, depending on what you want to measure, okay? And always use more than one research metric to make decision, okay? Because as what I always emphasize just now, use it responsibly, qualitative and quantitative output. Always use more than one research metrics, because by just using one, it may somehow less accurate. We all researchers, we all know that we need to have more data as possible to support our finding, to support our decision. So the more data it is, the better for you, and the higher the accuracy it is for you to submit your article next. Example, right? This particular journal has been discontinued by Scopus, and it is still indexed in journal impact factors. So you will never know next year or next 2 years whether the journal will be possibly in the risk to be also delisted by the Clarity WOS as well, right? So always have more data to back up your decision, and this will somehow lower down the risk that the manuscript that you submitted to that particular journal, being discredited due to the withdrawal, due to the discontinuations of the journal title by the Scopus or by the WOS, right? So these are all the key takes away. And I think this comes to the end of my sharing sessions of CiteScore. So I am now open up for Q&A. Should you have any questions, you can type in the Q&A. I will answer it accordingly. So thank you very much for all of you who spent time joining me here to listen to my presentation on the CiteScore. Okay. Any questions? Just key in the Q&A and I will answer it now. Any questions, participants? No questions? So if no questions, then I will assume all of you will start to look at these new research metrics and also will make a better decisions in your upcoming manuscript submission. Okay. If there's no questions, then I shall end these sessions. And first off, before I end these sessions, I would like to thank the library of UMT that actually take the efforts, to collaborate with Elsevier to provide you the webinars to benefits for all the users in UMT, right? So before I end these sessions, I would like to also wish all of you all the best and good luck in submitting your manuscript, and also make the best and most accurate decision in your upcoming manuscript submissions. Okay, thank you very much, and wish all of you stay safe during this pandemic, and I will see you all again. Thank you very much.